sometimes the intoxicated person is passed out or incoherent or in need of attention, but a lot of other times they're amped up and they're raring to go. That's why you see bar fights all the time and things like that. The homelessness, again, I'll agree with you, Rob, on that one. Go out there and interact with the homeless people and have the ability to get them the proper services and whole, mental health help. Also, try to get them to get to a place, whether it's a shelter or whatever the case may be. But that's another issue and another part that I haven't really heard about. How are we going to improve the shelter system? Curtis Lewa talked about that. But you need to improve the shelter system. The shelter system in New York City is a broken system. And a lot of homeless people don't want to go to a shelter. They'd rather sit there and tell you, I want to go to jail. We've all responded to jobs where people commit crimes and they want to go to jail. I'd rather spend a night in the Tombs or go to Rikers Island for the weekend than go to a shelter, because at the shelter I'm going to get robbed, I'm going to get sexually abused, I'm going to get assaulted, where I have a better chance of having supervised coverage in a jail situation. Like, again, like you said, public disturbances, breaches of conduct. That means that people are out of control, and you're going to send these people in. Panhandlers, we've seen panhandling going south. It turns into road rage. Again, trespassing, that's a crime. And I don't know what basic needs for assistance are. And disputes. In and of itself, disputes. It's a dispute. People are fighting.
I just want to jump in real quick, Marlon. Sorry to cut you off, but de-escalation is not the only thing that you need to do. You need to learn mental health, right? So if somebody is a psychotic or has some sort of other, mental health, you just can't say, that we were trained in de-escalation. And the other thing, like Chicken Wing says at 1832, it says, who supervises the social workers? So when stuff starts going bad and they call, what does the police officers have to interview the social workers? They were there first. So what did you say to that person? Because there's certain things you don't say to a suicidal person. Okay. There's one thing that we never do. Like they say, I want to commit suicide, but I want to talk to my mother first. I want to talk to my wife first. Well, usually there's a reason. Are you going to say goodbye to them? You have to get more information as to why you want to talk to that person. Could you be mad at that mother? Could you be mad at that wife? And that's the reason you want to kill yourself in front of that person to make them feel guilty? So you just can't have these social workers go in and say things and bring things in. Oh, I want to talk to my mother. Okay, Ma, come on in. And the next thing you know, the person commits suicide in front of the mother. So it's just not de-escalation. There's all training that especially emergency service goes through, about handling emotionally disturbed people. So, and then when did the police officers say, all right, social workers, you got to go outside. This is now we're taking over, and they'll say, no, it's still our job or whatever. So, I mean, really, like Chicken Wing says, who do they work for? Do they work for the police department? Do they work for the city? Do we have authority over them? I mean, yeah, you could send them to every job in the world, but that doesn't mean, it's going to come out to a good, final. I think it's going to be chaotic, especially in the beginning. And I think it was Hood X or Hard X Core or somebody mentioned it that do a pilot program. We did a pilot program. It was out in Staten Island, and it didn't work. They wanted police officers and ESU to stay a block away from an EDP job, let social workers go in, and then if anything happened, they would respond. So you want to do teams like Ron had just mentioned, that's fine. All right. But make sure that they work for the police department and the police officers have the authority over them. So Marlon, I'm sorry I cut you off, but I just wanted to get that out because that's hard to my belief and things I did for almost 20 years in the emergency service unit. So
no, not at all. That was some great insight. You know, I wasn't even aware that a similar pilot program was tested in Staten Island. But I'm looking at this list now, and I see next to trespassing, it says, or unwanted person calls, provided there is no threat of violence or weapons. I mean, how do they determine there's no weapons on the phone call? I mean, and my other thing is they're going to be paying these guys. Certainly, it's not going to be the same amount you pay a police officer, you know, a trained police officer. First, how are you going to identify these people, and how, are they going to be enthused? I mean, the thing is, are they going to be trained to conduct a Terry stop? How does that work? You know, or are they just going to be like, oh, take a walk, guy, you're here? Or what if the guy says, no, I live here. Oh, okay, sir. That's it. Yeah. And if that's the case, then they might as well just tell us up front that, hey, we're getting rid of broken windows and no more CompStat, you know, because if if that's the policy, then I just don't see how do you measure performance in the police department? How do you how do you tell if we're doing our job, if everything is, this is like an official way for everything to be shit canned here, you know?
What's another thing he's talking about doing? He's talking about expanding, and we've talked about this on all the platform, all across the platform. He's talking about expanding the violence interrupter program. That's a program that we've talked about that has no matrix for success, that answers to the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice, MOCJ, and they just report what they report. Oh, we stopped this amount of shootings. We did this, we did that. And they try to use the matrix of, well, shootings are down in this area and we have a violence interrupter program in that area. There's tens of millions of dollars that go into this program. And again, the matrix of success is they tell the city what they've done with no way to prove or disprove anything that they've done. They talk about how many meetings they've had with the community. They talk about all this stuff. They don't answer with the police. They don't work with the police. He wants to expand it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's easy, right? You could say, I'm doing a great job. If they ask me, I'm doing a great job, I'm absolutely doing a great job, you know? But unless you have performance indicators, measurement of success, I mean, what CompStat was all put on that, right? Jack Maples put that together saying, hey, let's put the police where the dots are on the map, and then we can measure the reduction in crime. So what's their measurement? That nothing was reported? What if nothing happened? What if nothing happened? Then it becomes a success. So if let's say they even push somebody into another precinct, right? If they said, oh, you guys got to leave, okay, I'll go another precinct, and then all of a sudden that precinct has no disputes on that particular block. Was it a success? No. All you did was displace it. So you have to have some sort of measurement of success. Otherwise, really, it didn't happen, right? If you can't put it pen to paper, it didn't happen. So I just think it's a self-serving thing. It's a throwing money to people that are saying they're doing a job. You know what? I'll do it. I'll be a violence interrupter in my neighborhood. Then I'll come back to New York City and let me interrupt some violence. I don't have to show what I did, but I'm going to say I did it. No documentation, right? So yeah, doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I'm all in for this. The people have voted and spoken. Yeah. I agree, but I can't in good conscience say that, hey, people voted for it, so it's going to work. We know from our experiences, from being in the streets, from being leaders of men and women in the streets, that this isn't going to work. We know what needs to be done to keep the people in the community safe, to keep the quality of life on the rise, not the decline. And the last three administrations, it's just been a downward spiral. And I don't see this. I thought we hit rock bottom. I thought we hit bottom enough. I had hoped that we hit bottom enough to do a bounce, like a Giuliani bounce, where we hit so low that New York City said we need somebody like Giuliani to come in and get us out of this. But I was sorely mistaken. I admit it. I was mistaken. I didn't think that 1 million plus people could vote for socialism in New York City and think that it's going to make a positive change in their lives and the lives of everybody else in New York City. Oh, Marlon, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I got to stay on brand, Ron.
Oh,
I got to stay on brand.
Where's Mo? Where's Hassan Mo now?
Yeah. No, I was just going to say that it's pretty ironic that the same people who keep harping on police accountability are now creating a civilian police department with no accountability at all, and no way for you to measure any sort of performance or just to tell how good of a job they're doing.
You know what's amazing? The unions that cover for the 911 operators, that they're not up in arms too, because there's going to be an accountability that, oh, you misdirected the call, you failed to ask the right question, and one of our social workers were stabbed when they walked in the door. That's going to be on their shoulders. I mean, what the union should be up in arms with that. I mean, because you know how many times that you respond to a job, oh, it's a wellness check, and you knock on the door and there's two people fighting. It's actually a domestic, right? It could be a violent domestic, but somebody else called and says, hey, I haven't heard from this person in a while. So you don't know what you can only be the information that's given on the phone and the questions that are asked. But if they're not giving the correct answers or the real answers, you could be directed to a call that has a large amount of violence. And you know what? If I was a police officer right now, and I responded to one of these, calls, and the social workers already engaged, and now it got violent, I'm calling ESU. I'm not. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. This thing's out of control, and I don't even know what was said to that person. What were the promises that were made? Well, we're not going to cuff you. We're not going to do. And then me as a police officer, I go to cuff them because now I'm going to take them to the hospital, and the person explodes. You told me I wasn't this, and reaches for a knife or whatever. I remember years ago, ESU would get to a call, and they would come in, and the person would be standing there. And the ESU guys would go, what's the problem? Oh, well, the person doesn't want to be cuffed. And then the ESU guy would be like, when did we give a person a choice whether they want to be cuffed or not? But you know what? These days, with CCRB, with everything else, if I was a police officer out there, I'm calling. Give me the army here, because I'm not taking this by myself, where I'm going to lose my job, possibly get fired, have CCRB adjudicate and discipline me. Forget it.
That's
the house of cards.
That's my next point here. But Simply E puts up a point, and listen, Aria pointed out. I know I'm behind in the chat, and sometimes I'm reading the comments and I'm associating to the wrong portion of the conversation, and I apologize for that. I'm trying to keep up with it as much as possible. But Simply E puts in there, will these people have qualified immunity? That's a really good question. That's really quick. And also, the Department of Community Safety are not police officers. Are they get involved in an altercation because it gets ugly? And what happens if they choke somebody out?
Yeah.
Are they held to the same standard under the diaphragm law? They're not allowed to hold somebody down and put any pressure on their chest. They're not allowed to try to save their lives when they have no other forms of defense and they wind up choking somebody out.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. But if I was a social worker and it got violent, I'd run the fuck out of that apartment. You wouldn't see me even stay in there. I'm not trying to take anybody down. I'm not trying to do anything. If I was going to do this, I would tell social workers you shouldn't even go inside, because you know what, you just created a barricaded EDP with hostages. That's what you just created as soon as they go inside.
You've just watched a clip from our live episode. Click the description to watch the full episode. Like, share, and subscribe for more videos just like this.